ever went to a preteen waistline party where they had ham. Never.
Yes, ma'am. I had a neighbor, and we called her Pineapple. And she had a huge family, and Pineapple, when we would have our little party, she would fix us ham sandwiches on that white bread with some chips and some red punch, which was
Wow.
probably like a Hawaiian
It
punch
was.
or something of that nature. But we had ham sandwiches, and one thing I loved about Pineapple was Pineapple sold Dixie cups.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you could get the red Dixie cup, you could get the green Dixie cup, you could get the orange Dixie cup. I know she had one of them big old white deep freezers
Yeah.
in her house. And that's where Pineapple, which in the back room, which was right off from the kitchen, that's where she had all her Dixie cups that she made in those little white cups.
How much?
Mm-hmm. I think maybe they were no more than a quarter or maybe 15 cents.
Yeah.
But the whole neighborhood would be at Pineapple's house all day buying Dixie cups. And she readily had them often. It wasn't maybe like a day that she missed. And don't say nothing about summertime. If it was summertime, we had a Dixie cup every day.
But you're tuned to Let's Talk. We're down memory lane. We're not supposed to be. We're supposed to be talking about the news. But listen, we're not worried about the news this morning. We're on memory lane and stuff that was just, we thought the bomb when we were in our early teens and preteens. And some things you'll notice I won't ask Evangelist because Evangelist Garth don't need to tell us all of her business from when she was 13 years old, 14 years old. We're going to pass by some questions.
But I tell you one thing, Stephanie and Mater, you would be surprised because you know what? Just like Mayor said, loving God, He is God. He is God. Even when you're a preteen, little teen, baby, He is God.
Right.
Well,
Amen.
I can think of some experience, some encounters that I had. Not a whole bunch of experiences, but encounters.
Yeah. Encounters.
Oh, yes.
All right. Now I'll ask you then. Y'all had a red light at your waistline parties?
I don't remember the waistline parties.
Oh, you didn't have waistline parties?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember the waistline parties, but you know what? We had a psychedelic light though.
Oh my goodness!
Oh yeah.
That must have been in college. No joke. Well, I guess in my neighborhood in the park, we didn't have that. We didn't have no.
Well, we had red light in the ceiling.
No.
No. Mater, did you have the records on the wall in your bedroom?
Did I do what?
Have the records on your wall in your bedroom?
Did I have records on my wall in my bedroom?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that because we had one of those old time stereos where you had the little yellow disc that you put
in
the 45.
Yeah.
When you put the record on the spin table, to hear the music, all of our records were kind of like Mommy and Daddy had like a bookcase where we stored all of the records and all of the big albums. Because on Sundays, the LPs.
I know.
LPs,
That's right. I was old by the time we had albums.
Yeah, we had my mama and my daddy every Sunday had Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, Dizzy Gillespie, Louis Armstrong, all of of that kind of music was Joe Williams. All that kind of music was played on a Sunday at 4216 Wells Street. As was Sunday day, after church, that is.
Oh, my goodness.
Church.
Well, let me tell you, Evangelist, I know exactly what you mean. A 45 was 59 cents. That's how much it costs at the Fifth Avenue shop. And but I never put the records on the wall until they were scratched up so bad you couldn't play it. Then, believe it or not, it became decoration. My parents, when I was in high school, my parents were building a house in the suburbs, and it had a garage, and they had told me that I would be able to have a birthday party once the house was built in the garage, like Maida had years before. We never had no garage, but my daddy put sheetrock in the garage and painted it so that I would be able to one day have parties. Well, they didn't let me have but one party. And I saved all the scratched up records, and they had wallpaper they was fixing the bathroom with. And so the leftover wallpaper, I made a label and glued it to the scratched up record so you couldn't see what the record used to be. You had it was the wallpaper on it, flowered, pop art wallpaper. That's still up in my parents' house, actually. And that was in, that was in the 70s. But my songs, I don't know if you all remember it. Joe, well, I think it was Joe Tex did a do the jerk. Do the jerk now, baby. Well, I had that. I had Chubby Checker with the peppermint twist. I remember that, having that record, because my parents didn't buy me no, they didn't buy no records like that, and so I'd have to catch the bus. I babysat, and I don't know, they must have been paying $0.05 an hour back when I was babysitting, because it took forever to get enough money to be able to go to the store by bus. The bus ride was 10 cents. Buy a 59-cent record. I don't remember buying nothing to eat while I was out. And that was like going to New York City.
Yes, indeed. Well, do you all remember Fun Fair Park?
I was too old for Fun Fair Park. I remember taking my sister. But I do remember it existing. How about you, Evangelist?
I remember hearing the name. I don't know if I ever been to Fun Fair Park.
Well, it was the big.
I never went to Fun Fair Park, but it was during the era of when my son was coming up that I think I had a little birthday gathering at Fun Fair Park for him. But then at the time when I was coming up, I were not allowed to go to Fun Fair Park during the days of segregation. Now, when integration came about, that was a different story. But I was not one that patronized them often. And I think it was just my son's choice that he wanted his birthday party at Fun Fair Park. And I did that for him. But otherwise, I would have not gone to Fun Fair Park, because if I couldn't go there when I was a child and I was not able to go, then I
were
resistant. Right.
I feel that way, Maida. I feel that way about City Park. They don't call it that now. They call it Capitol Park, I think it is. But when I was a girl, they the pool was segregated, and Pearl George and her friends and family decided that they were gonna get they it was back then it was 65 cents to swim. So they put on their swimsuits, tied their towels around their waist and with their money, and headed to the park, city park where the pool was. Yes. And she grew up, not she was a woman. Her husband was in the war, but she was a woman down the street from me. And they went down there and of course got arrested for being black and trying to get in the pool. And the mayor at the time said he was going, they were talking about they stayed in the jail, I know, a week. It might have been longer. But the mayor was like, the NAACP, everybody was, saying let them go, and he decided that he was not going to have no controversy in his town, and so he filled up the pool. And that's with dirt.
Right, with dirt.
With dirt.
Right, to avoid us not being able to go to the pool. But that's why at that time, a lot of African Americans were swimming in ponds or Comey River or things like that because you were not able to go to City Park. I mean, I know we had Brooks Park down in South Baton Rouge, and I know that that's where a lot of our children went and swam during that day. But City Park, they filled the pool up with dirt.
That's right. And so now they've changed the name. But of course, in my mind, I always think about, rather than letting my neighbors swim in the pool. Now, I couldn't swim no way. So I wouldn't have been marching down there. But rather than letting my neighbors swim in the pool, they filled it up with dirt. And I have, white associates that I think they call it now Capitol Park, and I'm like, you talking about City Park? No. I've 2 times they've had the address there because what was the country club, and back then it was that was a public country club. That the building that they now hold receptions in and so forth and so on, that was the clubhouse. And they had tennis, they had the swimming pool. Huh?
They had the golf course.
They had the golf course. And so people that did not have means to belong to the Capitol Club or some of the other membership money-based clubs could actually, have a good time with their families with resort-like surroundings. You got to remember this, this was the early days. They would be able to go out and have a class act day. And they had over in the corner they had the picnic tables and swing sets for the black people. And you were supposed to stay up there. You didn't have no pool and you weren't allowed to come down, and swim in, well, it was an understanding that you should not come and swim in the city park pool. You're tuned to Let's Talk. I'm sorry if we've had some technical difficulties. I saw that there was a call from Reverend Payne from the Weekly Press and 247praiseradio.com. We always want to salute him for being the new president of the Louisiana Black Publishers Association. We encourage you to Google, and you'll find all his contact information. And also, we encourage you to download the 247praiseradio.com app. And that way you'll have wonderful music and inspirational sermons throughout your day. We're Let's Talk, and we need to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on in the news. Internationally, you hear two things more than any other: Boris Johnson and about what was called the Baltics, now posed for war. Well, let's start with Boris Johnson. You know, Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister of England, and he's with the British Conservative Party, and they're best known for pushing for Brexit. You know, they got rid of one prime minister because they felt that she wasn't giving them what they wanted, and what they wanted was to be out of the European Union. Well, he was the fair-haired boy that took her place, and you probably have seen a lot of cartoons of him with his hair in disarray, and he's a character. But last year, they were on lockdown, and the citizens really were not doing anything except going to the grocery store, you know, to pick up groceries and going to the gas station. Anything else that they had to do was only for health reasons, and it was a very strict lockdown. During that period of time, apparently, his administration and workers were having weekend parties or end of the week parties. And there are reports that they were, you know, this was more than 10 people. He attended some. There were, what do you call it? Suitcases full of wine at the party. So we know this was not working parties. And now he's on the verge of being ousted. There's such an uproar because the people are saying that there were two sets of rules. One rule for the posh set, and one rule for the average Joe. So he has apologized, but it doesn't seem to be going away, at least in the press.
Yes, indeed.
Now, I don't know if everybody remembers it, but when President Trump went down there, I think that was the same trip that he thought that the Queen of England was moving too slow, so he went on in front of her. you know, and you know you must walk behind the Queen. And I know you gonna skip ahead and walk in front of the Queen, but he did that. And they said that that Boris and some of the other world leaders were talking about President Trump behind his back, and he didn't like it too much thereafter. And before he didn't like the previous prime minister, but he really seemed to have taken a shine to Boris Johnson. And so they seemed like they kind of thought alike anyway. So That's all of the news in England, of course, along with the Queen taking away her son Prince Andrew's uh, duties, as a senior member of the royal family. Uh, and that happened because of the American lawsuit uh, going around regarding him and a then 17-year-old who said that she was being trafficked to him. He says it's untrue, but the cry from the people was so great that they have taken away his duties. And that's not a good situation. You know, well, and I'm going to say this just in general for any young girls out there, not so young girls. Uh, if someone older with more authority is trying to force you into a situation that you're not supposed to be in, you get yourself out as quickly as you can. When you first smell the first rottenness, start to exit your way away from that situation into something that's into a safe place where where you can feel comfortable. Now, that may have been very hard for these young ladies because, in court as well, there's a female who's being accused of really pimping young girls.
Oh, yeah.
And they might not tell you anything about this in Sunday school, but there are bad people out there, men and women, that do not have your best interests at heart and want to use your young, smooth body for their own benefit without regard to what's good for you. And it doesn't matter how much money they have, how important they are, how everybody looks up to them. None of that matters. God gave you that body.
Right.
And you do not have to go along with any shenanigans that somebody comes up with regarding your body. You get your body out of there and use some wisdom so that you can be safe. Amen.
Right. And let me just interject on that note. When I was working in the juvenile system as a probation officer, I had a situation where there were young girls right here in the city who were into that kind of thing, and the pimp had the queen lady to get these girls out of school. They would check into school, get the girls out of school, take them to the local motel, hotel, Holiday Inn, do that little thing, and then get them back to school about the time that the bus would be arriving so that they would be able to go home. And that was a very serious situation, how these young girls were out there prostituting, how one family, we had a huge meeting with those individuals, those constituents that needed to be present to put a stop to it. It became so bad that the pimp, if the girl didn't do what he said, he would beat her unmercifully in front of the other girl to let them know that if you don't do what I say, then this is what's going to happen to you. And that was a very hard cases that I had to deal with, seeing young girls out there being pimped, the queen lady come and pick them up and then bring them back to school. Oh, you are actually telling the truth. If you're in a situation and it's not a safe situation, get out of there. Get out. Get out. Because you can end up being dead.
That's right. There's so many downsides to that scenario. They're all far more serious than the fear of not pleasing the people who are trying to exploit you. They don't have your best interest at hand. And as my mother would say back in the day, they will laugh at your calamity. Now here it is years later. These what was young girls, now grown women, are still scarred from the situation that they had to face. And so, I'm interrupting the news to say that this is nothing new. If you are in such a situation, get yourself as best you can out of it into a safe scenario, because down the line, here it is, 20 years later, it has still affected them, but it's still wrong.
It sure is. It sure is.
And Stephanie, I want to say that's really one of the conversations that you and I were having after the show almost a year ago. And Let's Talk was birthed. Let's Talk Some More was birthed.
Yes.
Because we kind of brought it home, and some stories were shared not only from our listening audience, but even from the in audience. And what I mean by that is I'm mainly talking about myself. And like I said, that's how the show was birthed. Let's Talk Some More. Mm-hmm. Because we had so much to talk about.
Right. I agree wholeheartedly. We're gonna try to see if we can get Reverend Payne in on the conversation. We want to. Good morning, Reverend Payne.
Come on and talk about it, because as you said, it would damage your whole life. You will not be able to function.
Good morning.
Good morning. We were just Reverend Payne, we were just doing a little kickoff. We were talking about the news, the British news, and part of that international picture is the fact that Prince Andrew has been relieved of his duties because of an American lawsuit which involved a girl that was then 17 years old being trafficked. And I want to reiterate that trafficked is a new word that they use for, pimped, being used for sexual favors. We were putting forth some advice to young girls that they should get themselves as best they can out of such a situation as soon as they can. But it's not just girls. I can remember my mother was a guidance counselor, and as Maida was talking about these girls being pimped when she was working, I can remember my mother saying that they sent a young man to her and who was always missing school. He had missed so much school that he was on the verge of failure. And they sent him into the guidance office for her to counsel with him. And he revealed that he had a gentleman friend that would pick him up in the mornings, and they would drive down to New Orleans, where he had other gentleman friends, and they would engage in illicit activities. And that's why he was missing so much school, because the following day, if they didn't pick him up, he was so tired that he was unable to come to school and do schoolwork. So I was going to reach out to the young men as well, and I thought, let me call Pastor.
Well, we this is not just an international problem. It's right here in our own state. A few years ago, we were number one in human trafficking because of our waterways and how they could easily get teens away from their parents and out of the state. So it's not just happening in Canada. It's not just happening in the UKs. It's happening right here in our own state, right here in our own city. And yes, it's not just a female problem. It's a male problem. It's we sort of focus on the females, but there are many males that are going through the same thing. And Stephanie and Evangelist and Mother Maiden, it happens right under our noses, right even in the church. You have the concerned friend who sees a young man or a young woman who's talented. They befriend the parents and tell them, oh, they're so talented, we're going to take care of them, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And they get them away from their parents. And one of the things that I believe, and I have a young man, I believe in educating him early. Just because when he asks questions, tell him the truth. Don't tell him about the start. Don't tell him about the birds and the bees. Tell them the truth. Tell them that you cannot trust everybody.
Yes.
And it's okay to come back and tell. You have to be the first line of defense. Your families have to be for the mother, the father, the aunt, the grandmother, the uncles. Everybody has to be that first line of defense. Not that you're teaching them to be afraid of everybody, but you are teaching them to be aware. And it's okay to tell. It's okay. You remember the saying, what happens in this house stays in this house? No. That's where we are sort of missing some things. Things go on for years and years and years. And then when they get 20 and 25, we find a jacked up adult in the mind. It's okay to tell. It's okay to tell. And we have to teach them early. We have to answer questions truthfully. And don't be afraid to tell them what's going on. I talk to my son constantly about any questions that he has to ask. And if you know that, he know how to ask some questions. Even at a very early age, he would ask why and how come, where this came from, and why are the kids talking about this, and why is this adult doing that? Why you don't want me to go here?
Yeah.
Right. Why is it not okay?
Right.
Pastor, you bring out a very, very important point, the why of it. And as adults, we can become so embarrassed that we don't want to we'll just say you can't go there, or you can't go with him, or you can't go to her house.
Or because I say so.
But really,
tell a kid because I say so.
Yeah.
You have to tell them why. Kids are not like you and I when we grow up. If our mother and father say, don't go over here, because I say so. We didn't go, but my son want to know why.
And listen,
he want to know the details. Why?
That's right.
I want to throw in this little part, and that is many times we do not say to our young person that even people in authority might not be right. You know, when the gymnasts, United States gymnasts started to come out and talk about this doctor that had been abusing them, and that the United Athletic Federation knew that he wasn't right, but he was supposedly turning out winners, and they didn't want, the adults didn't want to, well, the mothers didn't have a leg to stand on. They kept reporting when their daughters would tell them. But here, these Olympians, he had the gall and audacity to molest. But I'm going to say these words. You know, you can even the most powerful can go down in shame for the dirt that they do. You might feel alone. You might feel like nobody will believe you or understand. You stand on truth. And I don't care. Now look, I can tell you now, I had a preacher trying to get out of the way with me when I was 15 years old. And I said I was going to tell my daddy, and he told me my daddy wouldn't believe me. So people in power can be very, very arrogant and self-assured in the dirt they do. But that's all right. You stand on right, and you try to get, first of all, you tell them no. That's step one. I'm not down for this. Move back. I need my personal space. You too close to me. I don't be in that way. I'm not for this. I don't think that's fun. And if there's anybody in earshot, start talking loud. Hey, what you doing? What you trying to do? Back up off me. Let me alone. Stop. No. And start heading for the door. Stop. No. Head, look, you get a move on. Now you might say, oh, Sister Stephanie, it don't take all that. It depends on the person. It can take all that, but just know, you know, you can holler in the name of Jesus. I'll say, get from around me, get back. Go on, call it all out.
Right.
You're listening to Let's Talk. I'm sorry, what?
Children have to know that they can depend on their parents if they tell them something like that.
Yeah.
You have to make it a safe place. You have to constantly talk to your children and let them know that you can tell me anything. If anybody tells you that I'm not going to believe you, don't believe them. Mm-hmm. You can always come to your dad. You can always come to your mom.
That's right.
You can always come to an adult. And if somebody don't believe you, keep telling it. Keep telling it. Keep telling it. Don't let it go. Somebody's going to believe you.
When I was in middle school, I never forget this girl. Um, it was an after school program, and she started to see like I was just hollering. That's how she was doing with the assistant principal, and um, the female teachers the following day was for his defense. They were like, well, she probably misunderstood, but even if she didn't misunderstand, she didn't have to do all that hollering. Well, Sister Anthony say, you start hollering because there's no doubt about it. Once you start, when you exclaim in a loud voice beyond any shadow of a doubt of what's happening, and there are other people around that can be a witness that you protested. But if you're underage, you're underage. They don't, that's just it. Now, for those that are at the verge, I don't know what's of consent. I guess that's what, 18? 18. You at the verge, huh?
I said, yeah, 18.
All right. You 18. But you don't want this old man. Just holler. There you go. Go. And I was shocked when I overheard some of the people in authority. But I tell you what, she did a whole bunch of other girls a great favor, because you never heard another word about him doing nothing else like that. And I'm gonna tell you one other thing, and we never did get to the bottom of that. A few months before then, a boy came to the school with a gun and shot at him. He didn't hit him, and the administrator did not press charges, and they didn't put the boy out of school. And way after a while, when this other thing happened, and this girl screamed out, and yeah, like I said, it was a evening program they were having at the school. So she was hollering so loud, everybody heard it. That was the last. I thought to myself, I wonder if that old man was trying to get with that boy's girlfriend, and he came after him. But after it was all out in the all out for the world to hear and know what was going down, then it stopped. See, the devil loved to do things in the dark where nobody don't know, where there's not a spotlight, where he can act like he's the beautiful, the wonderful, the established authority on things, when in fact he low down, dirty, and nasty. You're tuned to Let's Talk, and we have gone a little bit over time before we even got to the other news. But I want to let everyone have a last word before we sign off for yet another edition of Let's Talk. Pastor, thank you so much for coming in with us on this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor.
You're so welcome. So welcome. Thank you for calling.
Amen. Alicia?
Amen. Oh my gosh. My Lord. What a time down memory lane. But it's a good place that we end up here, because this is a conversation that never ends. It should always be talked about, and even other testimonies. I was so great because after listening to Pastor, so many memories of myself, of what happened to me. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and it's medicine. This is medicine for somebody. We don't know how many mentally ill young people, old people out there that has gone through tragedies like this. So, as I said, you know, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Maida. It's a conversation that should never end. Mm-hmm. How this last one started off, it should never end.
Mm-hmm. Amen. And look, you might think that it's just you, but usually abusers are serial abusers. It's not just you. And so when you speak out, you're not just saving yourself. You're not just, saving your future, but you may very well be saving some other young person from going through the same thing. And now with our closing remarks, we go to Sister Maida.
Okay, well, in that we've had such a wonderful conversation here today, conversations. I'm going to call it Those Were the Days, my friends. So I would just say those were the days as we talked about all the different encounters and things that we went through. My title of that segment is Those Were the Days, my friend. So, moving on into your African American wisdom proverb, it says, unless a man is committed to the belief that all mankind are his brothers, then he labors in vain and hypocritically in the vineyards of equality. That comes from the words of Adam Clayton Powell. And Whitney Young says, our ability to create has outreached our ability to use wisely the products of our inventions. And Amali proverb says, God gives nothing to those who keep their arms closed. Amen.
Amen. We thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Let's Talk. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. And we'll look forward to being with you again next Saturday for Let's Talk. Make all your conversations useful. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.